The Uncle Gold Podcast.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Uncle Gold Podcast. My name is Borna Zuber. I'm the host of the show. And today I brought on Brooke Brasfield. We will talk about some interesting topics there. And I'm interested to hear her opinions on everything that we're going to discuss. We met through a previous guest on the podcast called Rachel. So if you haven't checked that out, if you're new to the podcast, make sure to subscribe. And here we talk about, ideas that can improve your life and kind of help people find the gold in life. So Brooke, welcome to the Uncle Gold Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. How have you been? How was your day?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been just having client calls and coaching calls. So it's a really great day when I'm able to do what I love to do. So
yeah, I agree on that one. Every day like that is great. Brooke, Rachel recommended you as a great guest to join us, and we've been chatting on Instagram for a while now, and I'm glad that we could organize this, so thank you for taking the time. But for everyone who's not familiar with your work, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what you focus on currently, and kind of where you're going?
Yes, of course. So I started out in mental health therapy. I worked in addiction and mental health for about 7 years. I worked in a treatment facility. And at that time, I was going through my own personal transformation and looking a lot into self-development and manifestation and law of attraction. And I was noticing that the way that I worked with my clients started to shift and change. So now I consider myself, I think you read on my page, I like to say like an energetic uplifter.
Yeah, I love that.
And I just love that because I feel like a lot of the times I need my energy to be uplifted. The times that we're in right now, it can be very heavy and dense. And so I've been learning a lot about energy and how that can impact our lives and, our thoughts and our emotions and our actions and our behaviors. And so I really love to work with people to do exactly that. So uplift the way that they're thinking on a daily basis, the way that they're feeling. And then that all, trickles down into our actions and our behaviors. And so now I consider myself, I do like a lot of spiritual kind of coaching and guidance, as well as energetic work. So within the programs or how I work with people, it's very all-encompassing. So we look at the whole system, so mind, body, spirit, physical body. And we also bring in, spirituality, energetic work, subconscious reprogramming. I usually work with people for about 6 months to a year because I see that is the biggest transformation. I've worked with people for shorter amounts of time. There's still a great transformation, but I just believe being with someone and supporting them for that period of time can just help escalate their life and their transformation. And it's just super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about me. I've gone through my own personal things and transformations, and I love bringing that to the people that I talk with and I'm invited to work with. And It's a really beautiful thing. I feel like now once I shifted out of mental health therapy, I have been able to break out of the box. So now I love to do retreats and I love to do a lot of different things. So coaching and energy healing gives me the space to really break out and expand and work with people all over the world.
Awesome. Yeah. Can you take us back to the beginning, how the story started? Did you initially want to be a person that works in this field, or did you start your career off maybe with something else?
So I was young and I had no idea what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I think it's kind of crazy at age 18 where you don't really know yourself. And you're kind of thrown into an educational system at least I know in the US it's very much like you have your degree and then you go do what you're going to do and you get your job. And for me, I needed some time. But at that time, I took like a personality test and all of the things said, like nurse, firefighter, doctor, like all of these things that helps people.
Mhm.
And I essentially at the time I landed on social work because it's an all-encompassing degree essentially. So you could work in non-for-profits, you could work in treatment centers, you could have your own private practice. So that's the route that I went on because it had some wiggle room and some space. And I also, like, in my family, there's past history of addiction, there's past history of mental health. So it really did feel like a good fit at that time. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did your career develop? Like, did you at one point just go like, oh, I'm gonna be a coach? Like, I know that usually people don't make that decision at a very young age. There are some people that are like with 17, they're life coaches, you know, and they're giving out courses online and stuff like that. But maybe take us through the process, like how you came to that. And as far as I understood, you're leading your own business and having your own company. That will also interest me. So if you can tell me a little bit about that, I'm sure it will be useful to other people who are maybe thinking of starting in the same direction.
Yes, of course. I actually never saw myself doing something like this, like owning my business or owning my own business and doing this kind of work. I had actually never heard of coaching before. When I started, looking at it, getting into it, I'd actually been in therapy for my own just mental health issues for about 12 years. So I went to therapy for like self-worth, self-esteem, body issues, trauma, things like that. So I was getting my own help, but I felt like I was just talking about the same problems over and over again. And so essentially where it got me to, I stopped seeing my current therapist and I kind of put it out there. I was like, if there's somebody out there that I'm meant to work with, that's meant to support me at this time in my life, bring them into my life. And so I essentially came around to me working with a coach. And that's when I saw huge transformations happen in my life because she was able to support me in action steps to move forward and certain activities and different books and ways of thinking that really catapulted my transformation. And she also gave me just a lot of resources like podcasts and things that helped me to ground into who I was and who I wanted to be. And through that process, I found that actually mental health, I love it and I love therapy, but there was a piece missing. And there was a piece missing in my work with my clients. And it was that freedom to divulge more about myself and my transformation. Like in therapy, it's centered on ethics and you're not really allowed to share much about yourself. I wanted to do more like mindfulness and teach yoga and do retreats. And so there was a very much this box I had to be in if I was going to choose the straight like therapist route. So over a period of time, I started to decrease my hours at my current job. So I worked at a treatment facility that's really well known in Missouri, and it's a wonderful facility and it helps thousands of people. But it didn't feel in alignment for me anymore because I was feeling really down and unfulfilled, even though I was working and serving people every day and really helping them. I wanted something more. I wanted something different. So I started to decrease my hours there, and I was working, going from 40 to 45 hours to 30 hours a week. And then I moved down part-time. And so during that open space that I had, I was able to work on developing my business and developing my view of what I wanted this business to look like for me. So I was able to really hone in what I wanted this to look like and set goals that felt really good for me, because for such a long time, I felt like I was playing into different things that were put on me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Hey, if you love using YouTube, I recommend the free Chrome extension called TubeBuddy. It allows you to do some advanced keyword research, cut your publishing time in half, and also rank your videos higher in search. I use them when creating for all my 3 channels They have a paid version as well, but I recommend starting with the free option for starters. They give you a lot of data when watching YouTube, also comparing your stats to other YouTube channels, and helped me a lot to gain more subscribers and more viewers on my channels. As I said, it's a free Chrome extension, but please use the link down below in the comments. And if you go for the paid version, type in Borna Tubers to get a discount of 20%. And now let's get back to the video.
So we talked about how you laid out the plans to start your company. Do you remember getting the first client ever, and how was that experience for you?
Yes, I do remember. It was really exciting and scary at the same time because a part of me felt like I didn't know what I was doing. A part of me felt like, who am I to do this? So imposter syndrome comes up a lot with entrepreneurs, and that is where I was. But there was still that idea that, okay, I can do this. I've been doing this for a long time. It's just in a different capacity. So I really had to remember and remind myself what my strengths were and how I was able to serve people and help them to change their lives. So it was a mix of emotions, but I mean, overall, it really showed me that this is something that I'm able to do. And it also showed me that I am really good at what I do. And that felt amazing as well. Just to have like your purpose and your passion line up and merge together is such a beautiful thing. Yeah, such a beautiful thing.
Makes sense. How did you find him? Like, was it through a recommendation or was it just through online?
Yeah, so a lot of people, I told a lot of other people in my circle or like my work circle that this is what I was moving into. So it was actually a referral from a therapist I'd worked with in the past who I would refer clients to. So a lot of my clients are either from referrals from other people or other clients or social media, which is so interesting to me. Like learning, that was one of the difficult, I don't want to say difficult, it was the most challenging things in my business was learning how to market effectively and in a way that felt good for me and it didn't feel like a hindrance to my life.
How did you figure it out then? Did you start using social media and things like that, or did you do the classical route through, I don't know, newspapers, or tell us the marketing side of the story?
Yes. So I essentially started with social media. So I started with Instagram and Facebook because they were free marketing tools. And I also, like I said, I told other people in my circle, which was really helpful. But social media is where I gather now all of my clients. And the process was I didn't have to, but I decided that I wanted to get comfortable showing my face on social media. So doing live stories and doing Facebook lives and Instagram lives. And at first it was challenging because it was something that I was not used to. I was not used to picking up my phone, looking at myself and talking to myself. Like it was a totally different way of that I've ever done things. And it took some time and I wasn't that great at first. I probably seemed a little nervous and scared, but over time, I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. And so over time, it feels natural. It feels like second nature. And now it's something that I actually really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And that's great.
I can remember those first moments as well. I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee YouTube videos, and he was talking about like recording your journey. I was like, all right, I really should start making videos, and then I remember the first one. And when I played it back to myself, I was like, is this my voice? Like, do I really sound like that? It felt weird, but as you said, after a while, I really got used to it, and now I enjoy it. I really do like the process, and I certainly do believe that social media and videos and all of that can have a very positive impact on people because you do get the opportunity to send a really good message out into the world.
Yes, and that's why it's so powerful for me because it's really important to me to be a person on social media who practices what she preaches, essentially, and is like a place for people to come and feel good about themselves and feel like they can be vulnerable and authentic and be themselves and be in their integrity, because there are other facets of social media that can be, again, like very heavy and very dense. So I liked for my outlets for someone to come and be uplifted, like that energetic uplift, to be uplifted instead of being pulled down. And that's been a really positive way of shifting my view of social media, is that I get to use this to help people feel a certain way. And that's really powerful.
For people who are listening or watching, if they maybe want to reach out and connect to you, where can they find you best? Can you give us the
Yes.
details?
Yes. So it's all of my social media is my name. So it's Brooke Brasfield. It's on Facebook, and on Instagram, it's Brooke 2_ Brasfield. Yeah.
All right. Do you maybe use LinkedIn for like more the business side of it, or do you just focus on these two social media in general?
I focus primarily on these two. I will be updating my LinkedIn for, just for consistency purposes, but I haven't had much interaction on LinkedIn personally. Yeah.
And have you been thinking about a YouTube channel as well? Because in the last 2 years, even beforehand, I was fascinated with YouTube because I learned so much from it. But in the last 2 years, I started creating videos for myself, and then I kind of got to see the other side as well of creating a video, posting it online, and then editing and all the data that you get. And I really find it interesting and fun. And one of the main differences that I see from just video on Facebook or Instagram is that it doesn't go away. So you could have a video from like 2 years ago, and today somebody could still watch it, and you're not pushing it out, you're not doing anything. It's the algorithm doing it on its own. I would love to hear your thoughts on YouTube as well.
Yes, so I love YouTube. I actually think it's going to make a comeback. I actually have a YouTube channel, and I was very active on it at one point. And most of the things that I put on my YouTube channel were recorded meditations. So I really enjoyed doing that. And it is something I want to move more into. Like, I would love to do, like quick energetic tips for people on YouTube, because I totally agree. It's something that your videos are always there. People can subscribe and come to it. And so that is something that is on my just like dream list of something to cultivate and begin to look more at. So this is just like a good reminder that I should be doing that, or I could be doing that. Yeah.
Well, if you need any tips, just let me know. Like, I'm really trying to study it and learn as much as I can about it. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts. Tell me, is this your first podcast that you're doing, or have you been on any other podcast as well? I know that you mentioned earlier that you listened a lot to podcasts that help you personally, but were you doing them besides of this one?
Yes, I've done a couple different podcasts, which has also been helpful because I can go back and listen to them and really see what words I tend to say a lot of the times. So my words are and so I've been cultivating a way to be more clear in my language. So I have been on a couple different podcasts, and it's always fun and a great experience. So I love doing those with people.
Yeah, there's a great point that you made. I feel that any type of recording yourself has a personal development element kind of ingrained into it, because you're confronted with what you're doing. And I noticed the same thing that you noticed, like I'm doing these and ahs and and then I have to cut them out of the video, and I'm like just losing so much time, and I'm like, I'll just stop saying them, and then it'll be a lot easier and the communication will get clearer. And when I look at public speakers like Gary or I don't know, any one of them basically, they got rid of their ums and ahs, and they speak really, really clearly. So that's also one of my kind of aims and goals that I want to do, is to clear out my languaging as much as I can, so it sounds better to people listening.
Yes, it is really helpful because I notice it would distract me and pull me away from really important things. So that has been super helpful for me.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the Uncle Gold podcast. If you want to support this whole project, make sure you go to the second channel called Uncle Gold Podcast Clips. There I create short form videos with the best topics from the interviews that I do on the main channel. You get their videos daily. They're separated nicely into playlists, so you can choose the topic that you want to watch most. And now let's go back to the video.
Yeah. Speaking of super helpful, if you think back to when you were doing personal development and the self-help part, whether you were teaching and studying and trying things out, do you remember a single one thing that you would recommend to people that worked best for you?
Yes, I would. So there's a book I continue to go back to kind of over and over, and it's Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's written a lot of books out there, but one of my favorite ones of his is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which at first I was like, well, I kind of like myself. Like, why would I want to break the habit of being myself? But it was really informative, and he talks a lot about energy as well, and he talks about quantum physics and vibration and frequencies, and he also just talks about how you can begin to be a different person. So for me, that was getting out of the stories that I had about myself, that I was an introvert and that I could never own my own business because I didn't know anything about that. Like, those are just stories that I made up essentially in my head, because in reality, I can be whoever I want to be. I can be introverted, I can be extroverted, I can be a woman with a business, I can be really whoever I want to be, because I believe that life and this universe is limitless and there's limitless potential. And so he talks a lot about that, and he actually teaches, we were to say like one thing, like meditation and really getting into a relaxed state and playing around, visualizing who I desire to be, what thoughts I desire to have, how I desire to feel, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes a day. Like, that's kind of all I can find now as a new mom. So I will essentially, get out of bed, put my feet on the floor, visualize how I want myself to walk through my day. And that has shifted my whole entire life. And things have just come into my life so much easier. And including like abundance and of relationships and of money and of creativity and all these different things that I either took for granted in the past or I pushed away and didn't allow space for in the past. So I was just kind of like doing and going. So yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. I agree on that one. Meditation helped me a lot as well. I started doing it in 2018. I went on an island in Croatia and just sat on a beach, and was kind of trying to figure it out for myself, because I heard about it, I read about it, and I never kind of did it, And then I said, all right, it's summer, I have time now. And I just sat every evening or even morning before work and then just kind of closed my eyes and trying to go inside and look for answers, And yeah, it worked. I felt great, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. Can you tell us a little bit more about meditation? Maybe some of the things that people do wrong when they're started, or some of the things how to make it easier for themselves that might make it easier for them to go into these deeper states and feel better?
Yes. My first tip is meditation can be whatever you want it to be. I think a lot of people, they get stuck or have resistance because they have this image in their mind of a guru sitting on a rock in the middle of a field with his hands in a certain position, right? So that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to look that way. If you want it to look that way, it can for sure look that way, but it doesn't have to look that way. Really, meditation to me is finding those moments of mindfulness and presence and connecting with my breath. So really, like, the simplest way that I think about it is I can sit there or lay down in my bed for 5 minutes and focus on my breathing. And also knowing that it's okay if thoughts come in and out. I think a lot of people I've worked with, they say, like, but I'm supposed to clear my mind. I'm not supposed to have any thoughts. But, like, that's impossible. One of my meditation teachers said, if you're thinking, you're alive. If you're not thinking, you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, we are going to have thoughts. It's just a part of being human. Supposedly we have like 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
So really for me, it's about finding those 1 to 2 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds of bliss where there's nothing. And then a thought comes in and I go back to my breath and I find those couple seconds of bliss. And so for me, that's been really helpful, is knowing I can meditate on walks. I can meditate on my yoga mat. I can meditate in my bed. I can meditate sitting around other people by just being present in the moment and not trying to collect all this data. I'm just letting the data come to me.
Awesome. You said energetic uplifter. A lot of people, when they think about energy, they think about, chakra points in their body. Can you talk a little bit about that? How you see it? How do you see energy, and maybe even about chakra points and things related to that?
Yes, of course. So I just want to say, like, in the past, if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would be talking about energy and energy work and the chakras, I would pretty much say, like, you're crazy. I would never do anything like that. So I just want to say, like, I was once a skeptic and now I am a believer, because I have seen what the knowledge of energy and the way that I can use it in my life, how that shifted my life in more ways than one. And so I can talk a little bit about that if you like too. But the way that I see energy, I like to give a little bit of background to it. And, we can go way back to, like, Albert Einstein, who essentially said everything is energy. And he said that because, we're made up of atoms and protons and there's matter all around us. And so if we look at these atoms, it's essentially made up of 0.9999% like blank space. And essentially that is energy. So what that means is that our whole entire bodies are energy. And that also means that everything around us is energy. And we give off these vibrations or frequencies. And the way that I think about this that makes it super simple is our hearts beat, right? So our hearts beat to keep us alive. We breathe in and out. We're having these transferences of chemicals throughout our body all of the time. Oxygen goes in, carbon dioxide comes out. So that is also a vibration, a frequency. And over time, what I found is that since our hearts beat, that means there's an energetic field moving outside of us. And if you look in Eastern traditions, they also talk about an outer aura, just meaning like an energy field that can go out as much as 3 feet out from us. So to make that in simple terms, you can take like a foot-long sandwich from Jimmy John's or Subway and stack 3 of them across, and like that's your energy field. And that also energy field is inside of the body, and that's the chakras as well. It's, there's in a lot of traditions, they talk about 7 chakras that run from the top of the head all the way down to the root. And other healing modalities, they also talk about 11 different chakras. So there's some different modalities. To keep it simple, the 7 are really easy to be aware of. And chakra just means wheel, right? So just a wheel. They turn depending on how clear the body is, how light the body feels. They're also, what blew my mind about chakras is that they're linked to different nerve bundles at the back of the body, which is so interesting to me. So that means that is energy. Like those bundles of neurons is just bringing energy into those centers of the body. And they all go in accordance to our endocrine system, to our, to all of our systems of our body. They correlate with those hormones and those certain organs. And it's just fascinating to see.
Yeah. I read a lot about it, and I remember the same story as you told me. Like the first time I heard, I was like, "What's this?" Like, But with time, as I started meditating, I kind of even felt it. Like if you would visualize a chakra point spinning, you could feel like warmer at that point, and I was like, am I imagining this? And so yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I feel that a lot of people could get a lot of really good insights from that. So what would be the next step? Let's say people would then start meditating, right? And then focusing on their chakra points, of course, learn about it, and then invest time into opening their chakra points or channeling more energy to them. What will be kind of the next step?
Yeah, so I think the next step, so once you've found, okay, where do I feel like I'm holding tension in my body? Where do I feel like there's blockages in my body? Where am I feeling physical sensations over a period of time? Then you'll know kind of which chakra you wanna look at. And exactly what you said, it is as simple as envisioning that point in the body and imagining just a wheel of spinning around, and over time you can look at like the different chakras correlate with a different color, so using colors is really helpful too. But the next step would really be to become curious about the body and become curious about, where do I tend to hold tension, where do I tend to feel pain, where do I tend to feel stress, and then it's being able to release those areas through the breath, because that can be very transformational and can shift the way that we feel our bodies, the way that we look at our bodies, because really our bodies are the brain. I mean, a lot of people think, like the Heart Math Institute actually believes that the heart is the brain, is like the second brain, because there's more neurons running from the heart to the head instead of the head to the heart. So I would say, yeah, like definitely like learn, and if it feels good for people, like definitely learn about these energy centers, and then become curious about your body and where you feel them. And yeah, and then continue to like build a meditation practice, move your body to move the energy through. Really think about and get curious about how you desire to feel, and move those feelings through the body, just through like breathing them in and then breathing out the feelings that you don't want to feel. And so I'd say like the main things are usually for me, finding that tension, breathing through it, and letting things flow through the body. And that just means, a lot of times we will have emotions that, like anger or fear or anxiety, and we'll hold on to them, and we'll say that we'll label ourselves with that, like, I am angry, I am fearful. And so labeling ourselves really like deepens that emotion into our energy centers. So if we can just allow those emotions, like accept, okay, I am feeling blank, I'm feeling angry, anxious, sad, fearful, I'm feeling that way, I'm going to allow it to come up in my environment, in my system, and then I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it flow through me and see what happens, right? So that's been helpful for me.
Cool. Do you approach your clients that way as well, where you take them to the points and do energetic breath work and all of that, or do you have a different method for approaching them, or if you can guide us through the process, just so we kind of know how it works if people are interested?
Yes, of course. So what I do is, I don't necessarily talk to my clients about chakras. I mean, some of my clients are super into it, and some of them it's surface level, and that's totally fine. So what I do is I actually, working with people for 6 months, the first 3 weeks of every month, we kind of talk like this. So what's going on? What are you struggling with? How can I support you? And then the 4th week, we do essentially like an energetic clearing or cleansing. So I have them, lay down in a comfortable position. I take them through a meditation, just depending on what they're needing at that time. And then I take in that meditation, so they're in a meditative state, I take them through each of the chakras and just have them visualize any energy that's stuck there, moving out of the body.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll name those chakras. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll, say like there's a white light moving above the head, and then it's moving down into the brain, and then it's moving down into the throat and the heart, so we go through all areas of the body and imagine that light cleansing the whole entire body. And every time I do that with clients, they either find clarity, or they feel amazing, or they feel really light, or there's so many other types of things that they can feel. They have a release of tension. Physical ailments have gone away. Like I worked with a woman a couple weeks ago who couldn't smell since like January, and we opened up her like ajna, or like third eye, and now she can smell. So it's just like, it's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Awesome stuff. It's amazing what the mind can do, and I hear stories about it, and sometimes I'm like mind blown. Like in this case, like, whoa, really? So yeah, we definitely should work more on ourselves, and opening up all the chakra points, and actually using our potential a lot more. I feel that a lot of people are not using their potential, not even like 50%, so I definitely feel that we could go a lot further and achieve a lot more in life. And that's kind of why I dedicated this podcast to, personal development and working on yourself and, like learning. Can you tell the listeners maybe some of the tips that you would recommend, what people could learn, where they should look, what should they read, and what are some of the things that they could do to take their personal development to the next level?
Yes, of course. And one thing you mentioned about, potential. So the first tip would be giving yourself permission to identify what your full potential is. Because I feel like a lot of times we don't give ourselves permission to think outside of the box, or to really dream, or to use our imagination. That's the one thing I ask my clients is like, what is your dream life? What do you want? And a lot of people have no idea. And that really, it breaks my heart, honestly, because I was the same way. I was the exact same way. So allowing ourselves to give ourselves this space to really know what we want and what our dream life is, to dream, to use our imagination as if we were like little kids again.
Yeah. Brooke, do you feel that it's also connected to fear, that people are afraid to dream up a dream? How do you look at it?
Yes, I think it's fear. I also think sometimes we can be addicted to survival emotions, and that
Like
just
tribalism, like society and that, or?
So just addicted to, like, we can be addicted to fear, or to anxiety, or to depression. And that just means that this is just an emotional state. And, essentially our feelings come from our thoughts. So it's a subconscious state that we can just be looping around in. So yes, it can be that a lot of people can think I need these emotions to survive, but they don't know that. Does that make sense? So it's very subconscious. And so until we start looking at our lives from a broader picture of like, what has impacted me to feel this fear? What in my life in the past, where did I find fear? Like, where is this coming up? So it's really being curious about that. But yes, I totally agree that fear can be a big part of it. Anxiety can be a big part of it. Or there was somebody in their past that said, you have to be this, or you have to do this. Or, or society says that you have to be this way, or you have to do it this way, or you're wrong, or you're not going to get the things that you desire. But like I said, essentially, if we take all of that away, and we take off all of these hats that we kind of wear, it's like, what are we left with?
Yeah. That's amazing. That, I'm sure that will unlock some potential for people listening. But Brooke, let's go back to the previous question of what should people study, and what are some of the materials that you would recommend for going into personal development? Maybe someone who's listening or watching is thinking about the concept for the first time, and they're like, like what should I do? Like, should I read a book? Should I watch a YouTube video? Should I, like, give us some tips there on what you think are some of the best materials out there?
Yes. So the best materials that I think are the books that I tend to send my clients are You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I just really like that. Like at first I was like, what is this book? But you can see like my old self was really just skeptical and like just
Blocking
kind of
stuff.
sad.
Mm-hmm.
So You're a Badass is great because she gives you things that you can do. And so with all of my clients, I say, read this and do the things that she asks you to do. And I also tell them to go really slow through it. I think a lot of times in our society, we want to consume and consume and consume. But with these kind of books, we really want to spend time on them and learn how to integrate the information and move through the processes that, you know, she recommends in that book. So I highly recommend that if you're like completely new to all of this. She's great. And let's see. So I also love Abraham Hicks. Have you ever heard of Abraham?
No, I heard about the first author, but
okay. So Abraham Hicks is essentially they do like law of attraction things. So Abraham Hicks. So the woman is actually named Esther Hicks, and she can essentially channel this entity named Abraham. And they talk a lot about law of attraction. They talk a lot about flowing downstream instead of upstream, whereas flowing upstream is just that like kind of grind, and I'm paddling really hard and I'm trying to control and I'm trying to, all of those things that can just help us feel like exhausted and tired so they talk a lot about that. There's YouTube videos out there that are just amazing. They're usually only like 10 to 15 minutes. I love them. I mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his work. I highly recommend all of his books. He wrote like Supernatural, which is a great book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. His Instagram is really great as well. So those are probably the top three. I also love Michael Singer. He wrote Untethered Soul, which I love. That is a wonderful book. Also another one that I would highly recommend. Processing the things that he says.
Rachel also recommended that one. She said it's an amazing book.
Yeah, it's great. And he also wrote a book on surrender, which is beautiful. And he is just an amazing human because, I mean, he is like a multimillionaire, but he didn't get there. You know, he had always practiced his mindfulness and meditation, even through his business. And it really showed me how even as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you can still surrender and give things over to a higher power and watch it unfold in, ways that you didn't even imagine that were possible.
Yeah. Awesome. Great tips there. I'll check out the books that you recommended. You mentioned on a topic there, which is money, and I know that's a big topic for a lot of people. I feel that a lot of people start personal development just so they could make more money, but then they kind of get tricked by the system and they improve every part of their lives along the way. But please, what's your opinion on money? What do you think about it? Just go. Just do it.
Yeah. So I came from a scarcity mentality. Just because I grew up and it was like there was never enough, even though we had everything we needed. Like my family was very blessed. I never wanted for anything, but it was very much like, well, there's just never enough. We need more to do to this. We need more. And so I had to do a lot of shifting around money blocks in my life. And I did a lot of this there's a book called Creating Money that's wonderful in helping people do this. After every chapter, they have questions that you can journal and process about. And so with, my own money blocks, to get to this level of abundance that I'm at now, I really had to go back and forgive the people in my life who taught me how to look at money or how to see money, which in my life, we just didn't really talk about it, or it was like, you need to save a bunch of money. So by the time I was 30, I had about $26,000 saved just in my savings account. And when I got into coaching, I essentially spent it all on my business and on like mentors. And then I was in a deficit. And that was really hard. So I recommend don't doing that. But it was exactly what I needed to do. But essentially, I needed to learn, like, how do I spend money on myself? How do I make decisions with my money with discernment instead of just kind of throwing it and being like, oh, this will come back to me. This will come back to me. When, really, if it's not made if I don't process it, if I don't really feel into it, it could be, a decision that's not best for me at that time. Mm-hmm. So now I've moved into money is everywhere. It's abundance, and there's more than enough for everyone. Mm-hmm. If we align with that, if we think that there's not enough or that we're not worthy, or if we don't energetically align ourselves to the amount of money that we desire, then it's just not going to come in.
Yeah, true. A lot of people think that I love what you said, that that has to be an energetic alignment, and a lot of people feel that they will just like use the law of attraction to just get the money without giving anything in return or changing any part of themselves, and it'll just magically appear. I feel that the law of attraction works exactly as you described it now. So if you want to be rewarded by money, then you have to give some energetic feedback to the universe that kind of justifies that reward. I always looked at it kind of as I wouldn't say as an exchange, but kind of like a shifting of energy, like you spend focusing on a solution for a longer time, you figure it out, and then the universe gives you money because you kind of found the solution. That's kind of how I look at it from that perspective.
Yes. And with law of attraction, it's really about getting into that feeling good state. So if we feel really, down about money or our money situation, or if we feel really fearful about money or we're anxious about money, then we're not going to pull any more to us. Yeah. But if we can get in that feeling state of, okay, I'm abundant with exactly what I have right now. If it's in my highest good to gain more abundance, then I'll ask for that. Mm-hmm. And I will align myself to that. And I will continue to work on myself to be in a feeling good state. So really, like, the only thing that I've been doing lately is taking care of myself to the point where I can feel really good. Mm-hmm. And then money is just magnetized to me because I'm not scared of it. I'm not anxious about it. I'm not fearful about it. I just have faith and trust that what I put out there, if I'm in integrity with it, if I'm authentic with it, then it's just going to come to me. Mm-hmm. It's just going to happen. Like it's the law of the universe. Yeah. But if I don't practice what I preach, if I don't continue getting my own support, if I don't be the transformation that I want my clients to be, then I push people away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Amazing. How does your day look like now, Brooke? Are you like overwhelmed with a lot of clients coming to you, and how do you structure it? Like, do you find time for yourself? Do you find time to take care of your body and mind and everything besides work? And maybe some tips for people who are looking to organize their lives a little bit better.
Yes. So I have a 6-month-old, so my days look a little bit different now. But I would say, the one thing that I always do is I get up around 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., and I take time for myself. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes I can get in 45 minutes. But that is the time where I meditate. I get into alignment, or sometimes I just sit there and like drink my coffee or my tea and take in everything around me. So being grateful for myself. I actually don't, for me, routines and things like that are really structured don't fit for me. I like having space to flow and do, like, wake up and be like, okay, what do I want to do with my time today? That feels really good for me. And so, if you're like, whoever is listening, if that feels really great to you, like, some people will be like, no, I can't do that, or I won't do anything. But if that feels good for you, here's the permission to do that. Like, you can do that.
Yeah.
And so I do that. Some days I have my daughter a couple days of the week, and then my work days, I essentially get up, I do my time, I look at my emails, I look at my schedule, who am I meeting with that day? And then I get into this feeling good state. Like, a lot of times I'll listen to like a meditation, or I'll clear or clean my space, and I will ground into my clients and what they need. So like this morning, I woke up and I actually went to the park because I knew that we would have this interview, and I wanted to be really grounded into my center, to myself. So I just went and I journaled, and it was beautiful. And I was there for 20 minutes and I was gone. That's, and that's okay. That's all I needed. It didn't need to be like a 2-hour thing, which I used to think that it needed to be. So yeah, then I meet with clients. My one-on-one clients, I only take 6 or my max is 6, because I give a lot of my energy to my clients, and they have support for me outside of calls. And so right now I'm actually launching a 6-month program. So I have 4 more spots available for that. And I haven't actually put it out on social media yet. So that'll be coming in hot soon. And I'm really excited about it because it's blending energy and pretty much all the things that we've talked about today. And it's a super intimate experience. And I'm really proud of it because it's everything that I've moved through. And then, tip wise, I'm trying to think what else.
But that was a great tip right there that you said. Please feel free to finish. But I love that tip that you said, that if somebody feels like they need more freedom away from the structured routine, that they should do it. And that's kind of what helped me a lot. I thought that I needed hyper structure. Every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, everything has to be sorted out, planned in a boxed out spreadsheet, and then taking everything off. And it was good for a time, but I noticed that I need to have a certain part of the day that it's not structured, that it's not predefined, where I can kind of do whatever I want. And the flexibility to, let's say Brooke invited me for a coffee over, and then just go there and spend 2 or 3 hours there and not think about the structured, a daily routine. So I think that's a great tip.
Yes. And, another thing that's been really helpful for me is whatever I am doing, being solely present with that. I also think as humans, we want to multitask and do different things at different times. But it's if I'm meeting with a client, that's all my focus is on that client. If I'm taking care of my daughter, all my focus is on my daughter. If I'm working on my website, all my focus is on my website. Social media wise, I try to only get on in one time in the morning and one time in the afternoon to really just check up on things, communicate with people, connect with people. And I actually stop looking at any kind of social media or screen at 8 p.m. So everything is shut off then. So I think that's been really helpful for me. And actually, my phone is on sleep mode from 8 a.m. to from 8 p.m. all the way to 8 a.m. in the morning. So I'm not, I'm not on my phone early or late.
Yeah.
So it's and I have specific times I'm on it during the day because I need those boundaries, or it's just going to be a little messy.
Of course. Brooke, great ideas shared here and a lot of useful insights. But for the end of the podcast, I always kind of like to leave this question because I feel it brings a lot of value and it's kind of connected to the core message of the podcast. I started the podcast to kind of help people focus more on personal development and growing in life and kind of finding the things that they want in life. And I was looking for something that could kind of represent it well, and I had this old like gaming name where when I was a kid I used to name like a gaming account there. It was Uncle Gold, and then I was like, the Uncle Gold podcast really sounds cool. So I wanted this podcast to be kind of like the uncle that taught you how to find the gold in life that you never had, and never had that, but here you got all the information. So I wanted to invite guests like you who can talk about topics like that and share their insights, and kind of information that can help people, and I think it's important, and especially in the last 2 years where the whole world kind of got turned upside down and everything went a little bit haywire. I think it's even more important to focus on ourselves and our improvement and development and learning and spirituality and money and all of the topics that we just covered. But the question that I always save for last is how to find the gold in life.
Ooh, so hopefully nobody said this one, but what comes to mind is to find the gold in life is to find yourself. It's really to know that there is this part of you inside you that is pure gold, is the way that I think about it. You can call it your highest self, you can call it divine, but really finding that part of you and aligning to that can change your life on so many levels. And it may sound a little obtuse or like, how do I do that? But really it's getting quiet and listening to yourself, and really, like I said in the beginning, asking yourself what you want, asking yourself, what are my dreams? And because we all have this piece of us within us that wants the best for ourselves, that is there for us when we need it, when we need him or her or they, but it's within all of us. And so that's what I believe the gold is learning how to give ourselves our own advice, learning how to heal ourselves, learning how to listen to our inner wisdom and our inner intuition, because we have all the answers. Everything that we need is within us.
Great finishing thoughts. And I would just like to add to that in somewhere around 2018, I kind of felt that I was neglecting that voice inside. And I said, all right, it's new year, I'll make a decision for 2018. And I said, one of the main ones was listen to my gut feeling more, because I had this debates in my head, like, should I listen to my gut feeling or should I stick to the logical? And I observed it for a while, and I noticed that most of the time, if I listened to my gut feeling, it would have turned out better than it turned out. And I was like, all right, New Year's decision, let's do this. And 2018 turned out to be a great year. I moved here to Ireland. I spent the summer in Croatia on an island that I told you, and started meditating. That was one of the things, and just listening to different people, changing some habits, and kind of working on myself a lot more. And even in like chats and like this, if I would get an impulse of like, oh, you should say this, I would say it. And maybe the year before I would kind of keep it to myself and try to change it a little bit. And I kind of opened myself up to myself more through that, So I still think that's one of the best decisions that I ever made. And I agree with everything that you said. And I hope that people listening will kind of do the same and open themselves up to the golden side and to their higher selves and start listening more.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you had that experience.
Yeah, it helped a lot. It made everything a little bit easier. I don't feel like a pressure from every side, and especially from the inside. So yeah, I think from that perspective, it helped a lot.
Yes, that is huge, to release pressure. A lot of us, that's all we really desire, is to release the pressure, release the control, and that part of us does that.
Yeah, amazing. Brooke Brasfield, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you liked the show. I hope you liked all the information that we shared here. If you have any questions, please post it in the comments. Me and Brooke will keep an eye open and respond. If you have any, reach out to Brooke on Instagram. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And yeah, Brooke, thank you again for joining the Uncle Gold podcast. Thank you for sharing all the information there. I learned a lot, and I reminded myself of some of the things that I kind of knew and forgotten, so thanks again for that.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Awesome. You were a great guest. Thanks for everyone still listening. I hope you have a great day, and make sure to see us in the next episode. Have a great day, guys. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.